Good morning, sixth graders. It's Mrs. Reed, and I want to help walk you through your guided notes for Government and Citizenship, pages 103 to 109. The beginning slide you see here is a house in Iran, and we were just talking about culture, and we're going to connect what we're talking about government and citizenship as part of a place's culture. And so homes were part of that culture too in architecture, and this is made out of stone. You can see how it's wore away through years and years, and they build right into the side, and there's a whole village of these. Our guiding questions today, as you look at these guided notes and read pages 103 to 109, you and your partner need to be checking if you did a good job on these guided notes and fixing any places that you may not have enough information. Our guiding question is, why do we need a system of government? What is important about government? What does your government do for you? It offers protection in the form of police to make sure, and court systems to make sure that we have justice. Sometimes families are in need of food assistance or unemployment benefits if you're going through a hard time or a change in jobs. Emergencies such as a fire in your home or a medical emergency with an ambulance. And it provides education, libraries with books for education of our community and our adults as well, free internet available, lots of services that the government provides. So there is a reason that we pay taxes, and an important reason for our military as part of our protection as well as our police. What does it mean? What does citizenship mean, and what does it mean to be a good citizen? This is one classroom that put together kind of what a citizen means. I like the one where call the cops if you need them or if somebody else needs them, being that good Samaritan that helps out others, being responsible. Think about, what responsibility do we have as American citizens? Do we have responsibility to help other countries? Think about that and talk about it with your partner. In the Gateway books, if you get a chance, they do talk about citizen duties and citizen responsibilities. Would you and your partner take a minute, share one book? We have just 15 copies for the classroom, but take a minute to read pages 230 to 233, and you can pause the video, but look at what our duties are, what our responsibilities and our citizens' rights, and see if you agree with them, and if you think you're meeting those, if you're doing these things, or if you'll do them as an adult. So pause the video. One thing it said in the Gateway pages, if you're finished reading those, is how should citizens stay informed, and it talks about American citizens are part of a global community. We no longer can just be isolated and think of ourselves. Because of this, we should stay informed about events in other parts of the world. America is one of the countries that knows probably the least about what's going on in other places, because most of our news focuses in on what's happening to us. We kind of have a very egocentric, meaning focused just on ourselves and what affects the United States. But we should be aware of what's going on in other places, because it will affect us. Now, taking a look at your sheet, your guided notes, text pages 103 to 109. And the first question was, what did Anne Marie Sutherland do to get into politics? On your paper, look at you and your partners and kind of check each other's. Did you talk about how she became interested as a child because her father was a government teacher? And she worked as a volunteer for a few presidential campaigns in 2000 and 2004. She also worked as an intern for a U.S. senator. And she's going to college and majoring in political science, which is the study of the government and everything involved. As you read further, you see Hammurabi's Code, just a fun name to say, try saying that, Hammurabi's Code. It was the first set of laws written down. Our Constitution is our set of written laws, and Hammurabi's Code was the first one, the oldest set of laws that they have found. In Iraq, in about 1760 BC is what they've dated it, and it was carved in stone. And it talks about what the government does. So number 2, what is the purpose of government? A government's purpose is a group of people who have the power to make and enforce laws, so making laws and enforcing them, making sure they're being followed. Another purpose is to keep order, which they do through the military and the police. Provide services, many of the services we just talked about, education, medical services, making sure there are hospitals adequate water service, public utilities like electricity, and to protect the common good. And the common good needs to be what's good for all citizens, not just a few group or the majority ruling group, and the general well-being of the people. There should be sanitation, there should be garbage removal, we should think about the environment that we have to live in, there should be food available, and government should make that possible. So on your paper, you should have some of these purposes that government has. It's important. Number 3 is asking you to compare limited and unlimited government. So there's not many similarities, except that they're different types of government or different amounts of power that a government has. So that's the only similarity they really have, is they talk about the amount of power that a government has. Limited government is that you have a constitution. It's a set of written laws that the government has to follow. So government's power is limited by that constitution. It works to protect the common good, and it should work to provide for people's needs. It should meet the people's, all citizens' needs. Unlimited government is when you have a ruler or small group that makes all the laws. There's no constitution, and this amount of power usually leads to tyranny or corruption, which is unjust. They make laws maybe for the good of the government, but not necessarily what's good for the people, and it may not protect people's basic rights. China would be maybe an example of this, and North Korea. Number 4, ask about what is a constitution and how do constitutions limit the powers of government. So this goes back to limited and unlimited. So a constitution is the set of written laws that a government has to follow. It provides basic rules and organization for the government, when there will be elections, how long leaders will rule if it's a democracy, and a constitution sets the powers that the government has. So a written set of laws, and that limits the powers of the leader. Go back to democracy. Number 5, what is the difference between direct democracy and representative democracy? Direct democracy is when all citizens participate in every action the government takes, so they're all there voting, they're all trying to make the laws, whereas representative democracy is present day in the United States. We have a representative democracy because we don't have time, and there's so many of us, we've gotten so large, it would be too hard for everyone to vote on every single law. So we elect representatives to make government decisions for us, to do the work. So direct democracy worked well in ancient times when you had small city-states like ancient Greece. For monarchy versus, oops, sorry, they're changing on me. I'm trying to expand the screen so we can see all of monarchy. You can look in your book at these pages. For monarchy, the difference between monarchy and authoritarian, the huge difference is that a monarchy might have a constitution which would limit the power and run more towards a democracy for the common good if it's got a constitution. But a monarch's power is inherited, so it's usually a king or queen, and they may or may not have a constitution. Authoritarian government is usually a single person, a dictator, with absolute power. And here's a little chart to help you with number 6, monarchy versus authoritarian type of government. A single leader has absolute unlimited power, and the government may control of all aspects of life. And this would also be communism. It might be a small group that acts as that authoritarian also. Here's a chart, and I'd like you to pause the video when all the elements are on for each of these. And you and your partners copy this down. Each of you need your own copy. For democracy, there's 2 types. Direct democracy, where every citizen of age votes on every issue. It works well in small tribes or small city-states. Representative democracy, people elect representatives to vote. They set elections, and any citizen can run for office. People have the power through voting and elections. For a monarchy, there's traditional. Leader inherits power, has absolute power. But more often today you find constitutional monarchies where there's a set of written laws, limited power for the king or queen to follow. and may have a group such as Parliament, and this is England's system, does have a Parliament and a Prime Minister that work with the Queen to make those laws. In a dictatorship or authoritarian system of government, one person has absolute power. Usually the position was taken with force. They had kind of a coup and took over the government. And there's no set elections or fair elections in that kind of system. The next question was on the principles of government. So for number 7, explain the principles of government. And the highlighted parts there are where you kind of find the important information. Every government has basic principles, and it depends on what system. If it's authoritarian, it may seek to control all aspects of life. If it's democratic principles, it protects individual rights, protects common good of all people, and it also makes sure, when the majorities are voting, that the minority rights are protected. And this was our really seen for our core democratic value of equality, and making sure in the civil rights, all of our smaller groups of immigrants that we've had come in, we need to make sure that they're all treated fairly and just. And the final question you read about, or the pages that you were reading, the 3 branches of government. The legislative branch is our lawmakers, our representatives in our House and our Senate. We have 2 parts because in the Constitution, there was a debate in the Constitutional Convention about how many representatives each state would get. Some states have a much higher population. And so in the House of Representatives, how many representatives you get is based on population. And that is over 435 people, representatives in our House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. Our Senate is equal per state, so even the smaller states or the less populated states get the equal say. And so every state has 2 senators. And those are the 2 parts of the legislative branch. In the executive branch, we have the president, the vice president, and his cabinet, which is not a wooden cabinet. His cabinet is a group of advisors that help him make decisions, and he needs them to be experts in certain areas. So and they're called secretaries. He has a Secretary of Defense who constantly gets all the latest information on our military operations and informs him daily what's going on. Our Secretary of Education, Secretary of Energy, looking into oil and gas prices and how we're using and consuming and making energy, and has to be informed every day so that the president can make good decisions. And then they also pass information on to our legislative branch, to the House of Representatives, share intelligence so our government can make the best decisions. And the judicial branch is our Supreme Court. There are 9 justices, and they are appointed by the president, but we have the system of checks and balances. And so they have to be approved by our legislative branch as well. So no one branch becomes too powerful. That was set in the Constitutional Convention, our set of laws that organized our government, established checks and balances, our 3 branches of government, so that no one branch would become too powerful. And the reason they did that, they were scared of that. They didn't want a king again. They wanted to make sure that all 3 branches worked together. On a piece of paper, maybe on the back of where you copied down the 3 types of governments, you could copy down the civics for civilian chart. This is basic on the branches and levels of government and what their jobs are. So for our country, for our federal government, which is located in Washington, D.C., after everything has popped in, go ahead and copy it down on your paper. Make the diagram look just like the screen does, and you can pause the video so you can see the whole entire chart. It is our federal government in Washington, D.C. Our Constitution is our written set of laws. The executive branch enforces laws, so these are the jobs. Legislative branch makes laws. Judicial branch interprets laws using the Constitution. Is this law fair and just? And they have the final say. In the executive branch, it includes the president, the vice president, and the cabinet, the group of advisors. Our Congress is our legislative branch, and again, it's 2 parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. And the judicial branch is our Supreme Court. And then our levels of government, we have federal government, which is in Washington, D.C. We have state government in Michigan. And then we have local governments. Our county shares a court system, Muskegon County, and the courthouse is in Muskegon. And we have Whitehall city government as well. And people may have to pay city taxes for services like the water, public water. So pause the video and make sure that you have that copied down on the back of your 3 types of government: the democracy, monarchy, and authoritarian or dictatorship. And that concludes. You should have your guided notes completed, and check with your partner to make sure everybody has great notes on that.